Welcome, everybody. This is Thursday, November 24th, and this is the regular board meeting of the Sunshine Coast Regional District. Yes. I welcome everyone and thank you for being here, and I'd like to acknowledge that we are within the territory of the Seashelt First Nations. And we thank them for letting us be here. So the first order is call to order, and it is 2:03. And we have an agenda in front of us. And is there any changes, adds before? Huh? Oh, it's an amended agenda in front of us. Yes. Okay.
I'll move adoption as amended.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Yes, we do. All in favor? Yes. So, could I have a motion to receive all minutes and reports? Motion, Director McMahon, seconded Director Henderson. All in favor? Great. Thank you. So, we're down to item 2, which is Annex A, and it's pages 1 to 8. And it's the regular board meetings of October 27th, 2022. Is there any changes to these minutes that anybody would like to make?
Wasn't there.
Seeing none, I'd like a motion to accept them. Director McMahon, seconder. Director Stamford, all in favor? Great, passes. Thank you. So now we're on item number 3, which is Annex B, which is pages 9 to 10. And it's the inaugural board meeting minutes of November 10th, 2022. Any changes to these minutes? Seeing none, can I have a motion to accept them? Director Bax made motion, seconded Director McMahon, all in favor? Passes. So we're down to item number 4. Special board meeting minutes of November 15th, 2022. It's Annex C, pages 11 and 12. So directors, are there any changes to those minutes? Oh, Director Bax?
If you look up at the page 1 or the cover page of the agenda, you'll see businesses arising from minutes and unfinished business. There's a change to replace and further that the financial plan would be amended to replace it with, and further that the staff report on an upcoming committee meeting on the viability and financial implications of using alternative water sources at the Sunshine Coast Arena.
Sorry, what page was that
So you
again?
go up to the first page of the agenda, under business arising from minutes and unfinished business.
No, but hang on.
Oh,
Is that the correct time to point this out?
We can adopt these minutes because that's what took place at the meeting, and
Okay.
then we can move on to the business horizon and deal with that.
All right.
okay, you were moving forward to business arising.
Sorry, I correct.
No, that's
I
not
stand
correct. Yeah,
corrected.
we'll deal with that as we get there.
Okay, no
Yes.
problem.
Okay. Director McMahon moved the motion. Director Taw seconded it. All in favor? Great, it's passed. Now we did her. Just a sec here.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Now I got to get back to my agenda here. Trying to run 2 things at once here. Okay, so now we are down to business arising from the minutes and unfinished business. There is a motion here, and I would go to staff and get them to explain what's going on with this for us.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, for those of you wondering what on earth is this and why are we here,
And why are we presented with this? At the special board meeting, we came in hot, we had a great discussion, and we tried to craft a number of motions that was going to allow Chapman water to be used to initiate ice at SCA in a timeline that would accommodate the planned tournament that was going to be planned for this weekend, and then provide some ability/flexibility for the GM of Community Services to explore what that other solution might look like to operate the ice plant and arena with water outside of the Chapman system, and come back to the board with a more detailed report explaining what that was going to cost and what would be entailed. After staff had a chance to review the motions as approved at the special board meeting afterwards, we realized that the final "and that," which talked about the financial plan be amended up to an amount of $15,000 a week, that was going to be essentially inactionable. And so what staff have proposed is amended wording to come back for your consideration that would be more easy for us to action. And I've got both Shelley here and CFO Perot is here that can explain the actual, better than I can explain the actual problems with the original "and that," and why we are proposing this amended wording.
Yes, I understand Tina is here to talk to that. So Tina?
Thank you, Chair. So in the particular motion as presented November 15th, it really is quite vague as to the sources and uses of funds. It also doesn't give an up to amount, so it's undetermined amount of time. So within a regional district, we don't really have a general fund. And so for instance, it says the regional water service or community services, we need to clarify what sources and uses of funds for both of those services would be. Currently, these particular costs are not reflected in the budget based on trying to use alternative water sources. So essentially, it's almost like a blank check type of recommendation, which really we can't action, and we don't really know what this actually means from our side. I think we know the intent, but we just need a few more details associated with it. So since that particular time, I think we've given another recommendation because we actually are still determining what those particular costs will be. And even since yesterday afternoon, we don't quite have that. And I mean, that's the part that potentially GM Gagnon can speak to. Thank you.
Thank you, CFO Perot. I think we can go to questions now. Director McMahon.
Yes, I was just wondering if there was any ETA on when we might see a report on this.
Would that be GM Gagnon? Yes. Can you answer that for us?
Thank you, Chair. I just had my hand on my mouse, so I remembered to turn on my camera when I begin to speak. So thank you. I apologize for the pause. So we've spent the last 9 days putting in ice and also trying to do some preliminary research on what type of information we are going to need in order to put together a fulsome report to you that would say what a viable source is, if it exists, what it would involve, at what cost. And so what I can tell you to date is that an alternate water source to be used in the plant will require plant upgrades. And so what I intend to do in the near future, as near as I can, I believe our next committee of the whole is December 8th, which, at risk of coming in hot again, to use Dean's terminology, which is never ideal because I think sometimes we find ourselves in these situations, I will endeavor to put together a report that at least outlines what some of the initial outlay of costs might be for me to actually do the work I need to do to tell you whether or not an alternate source is viable. So that is the intent. The ETA of that first report could be as early as next week. Thank you. Oh, I will also just follow that up with, if we look at some longer timelines in terms of what we know we're going to need to do, I would like to give some general oversense in terms of the general longer time frame. With plant upgrades, that will require an engineer, that will require a design, it will require procuring the engineer to actually, or to the right services to actually construct the retrofit to the plant. There may be material and supply requirements, which depending on the sourcing of, may have a time frame. So I think it is reasonable to expect that if there is an alternate viable way of using different water to continue to operate the plant, it is highly likely that we won't know what that is until the new year, at what cost until the new year, and it is highly likely that we would not be able to enact a full retro of a plant before the season is out this year. The ice comes out in SCA the middle of March. So we will do our best to work as fast as we can, but I highlight that because I think it's important to understand there are steps that need to be taken. There will be supplies that are needed to be procured. They may come from the community, but plant retrofits won't come from the community, and depending on the complexity of that, which I need the design first, will depend on how long it would take us to launch that. So I just think it's important, because this is not something that's going to happen overnight. And I think I said that at the last meeting, is that we're going to be on the Chapman system for a bit until we get the plan in place. So the plan in place is going to take some time. Thank you.
Yes, a follow-up, Director McMahon.
Right, so we won't know everything by December the 8th, but we're running out of meetings before the new year. So presumably something will have to come back to the board for some sort of a decision as to whether to continue the Chapman sourced ice before the new year.
Yes, GM
Thank
Gagnon.
you, Chair. So there is nothing in the level 4 water restriction bylaw right now that prohibits the use of the water system for ice. So there's nothing that is stopping us right now from using Chapman system. So I say that because the only thing that would stop us would be if a SOL was created again and an order was put in place to do so. You are correct in that it's highly unlikely that I will know how much it will cost us or the viability of an alternate water source before the new year. I will know what it's going to cost me to do to hire an engineer to do the work on the plant, yes, but not the entire cost or the viability of it. Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, there is a motion on the floor here. Would you like me to read that motion? It's not on the floor yet? Oh, okay.
But I'm willing to make a motion,
Thank you.
as shown in the minutes, to replace that and further that clause with and further that staff report to an upcoming committee meeting on the viability and financial implications for using alternative water sources at the Sunshine Coast Arena.
Seconder? Yes. Thank you. We have a seconder. Any further discussion? Yes, Director Anderson?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think a couple of things. First of all, I don't frankly think we need this motion. I think the intent of what we moved last week was to be to give the flexibility to staff. That's why we gave them the financial parameters. I'm sensitive that sometimes what might appear to be a blank check is perhaps daunting, but I generally appreciate having that flexibility when I'm given the blank check. So I would suggest to staff that this is the opportunity to get on with things, and in the meantime, recognizing that the rest of the preamble to the resolution that was adopted last time had the other piece, which was the provision of water from the town of Gibson's to, my words now, backfill any draws on the Chapman water system. So I'm not in favor of this resolution simply because I don't think it delivers what we want, which is get the study done, tell us if there are impediments to using alternative sources. Let's get on with it. Thank you.
Would staff have any further comments on that, or is it all been made? Okay. Sorry? Oh, thank you. CFO Perot?
Just one comment I perhaps didn't mention earlier was, as a regional district and legislatively, we're not able to actually budget for a deficit. And so that is actually part of what this particular motion does, is budgets for a deficit, most certainly within the community recreation side of the house. Realizing that, of course, the deficit is only actioned if the money starts to flow. But nonetheless, the way it's written right now, there's no controls associated with it.
Thank you. Is there any further comments or questions before we vote? Okay. Oh, sorry. Director White?
Sorry, I should be doing it on Zoom. I guess what I'm hearing is the money isn't going to be spent either way. So it's kind of I don't know why the motion is so necessary either. I mean, it sounds like the money's not going to be spent either way. We're not going to run a deficit either way. I'm still unclear on that aspect. We've already had our chance to ask staff questions though, and I mean, if other directors have any. Yeah, I don't see the need for the motion, but I don't see the need to vote against it either. So I'm a little bit torn right now. I don't know why we're talking about it. But I might just abstain, I guess.
Any further comments? Any further clarification? Yes, Director Bax?
Yeah, my understanding is that before any money is spent, we're going to need a study from Shelley.
GM Gagnon?
GM Gagnon, that we're going to need a study to see how viable this is before we really spend any money. And personally, I'm fine with that. I think that's a good idea.
Thank you. I see Director Henderson.
Just, Chair, while we're on this topic, before we vote, I wanted to just acknowledge the staff at the arena who I understand have been worked very hard, and the ice has been in now for a couple of days. So on behalf of, well, I suppose us, but I won't speak for all of you, but certainly from my point of view, I want to recognize and appreciate them for that. I also want to appreciate the people in the community that have reached out. I hope they've been contacted to those who have offered equipment and services to help provide alternative sources. That's part of a great community when people are willing to do that. So not directly on the agenda, on the motion, but worth saying, I believe. Thank you.
Very pertinent and very well said. I guess we will take the vote. All those in favor of the motion? Yeah, any opposed? Would you like that recorded? Yes. Director Henderson was opposed. Thank you. We got past that one a lot quicker than we did last time. So we have no presentations and delegations, so we're on to reports. and it's item number 5 on our agenda. And it's the Committee of the Whole recommendations numbers 1 to 9 of October 27th, 2022. Just a sec here, please. It was pointed out to me that I should have acknowledged Director Paul as voting in the positive for the motion. Thank you, Director Paul. Okay, so we're on to item 5, Committee of the Whole recommendations numbers 1 to 9 of October 27th, 2022. It's Annex D, it's pages 13 to 15. And directors, before we adopt these recommendations, is there any you'd like to pull out for debate? I got Director Henderson. Yes. Yes. Okay. A motion to adopt the recommendations. Thank you, Director McMahon. Seconder? Director Henderson? Oh, your hand went back up. Director Stamford? Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? No? Passed. Whoops.
Opposed to the adoption of the entire block of recommendations?
Oh, no. Accepting them?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, we're on to item 6 actually now. And it's the Electoral Area Services Recommendations numbers 1 to 3 of November 17th. It's Annex E, pages 6 and 17. And directors, before we adopt this recommendation, is there any you'd like pulled for discussion? No, seeing none. Can I have a motion to accept those? Thank you, Director McMahon. Seconded, Director Stamford. All in favor? Any opposed? No. Thank you. Now, let's see. I think there's something in the middle here, isn't there? Yes. Now we have item 6A, late agenda, and it's recommendations 4 and 5 from the Committee of the Whole on November 24th, 2023. Late item 6A. I understand that one of these items would be pulled.
Chair, if I may
Yes.
interrupt real quick, it's actually recommendations 4 through 6, not just 4 and 5. There is one more recommendation on there.
Ha! Didn't look at the backside. Correction. It's recommendations 4 to 6 of Committee of the Whole of November 24th, 2022. Thank you. And Director Gabius?
Thank you, Chair. I would like to pull recommendation number 4 on late item 6A for further debate, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, I'll pass the other ones now, yes. So, could I have a motion to pass recommendations 5 and 6 as presented? Director Toth, seconded. Director Stamford, all in favor? Any opposed? Director Bax is opposed to pulling it? Or to
No,
accepting the recommendations 5 and 6?
I am opposed to accepting recommendation 6.
Okay. It's recorded then. Thank you. It's passed. Anyways, I'd like to discuss recommendation number 4, debate recommendation number 4, and I'd like to hear from Director Gabius now.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Jim Gagnon, for coming back. I understand the preference for the nitrogen system, considering it has a longer lifespan and it has less chances of failure. My question pertains to, like, there was no, the causes of the failure have not been determined, if I understand correctly? Like, it haven't really been looked into? Is that correct?
Yes, GM Gagnon, would you be able to answer that for us?
I can tell you that we did all we could to try and determine, and we are unable to determine.
Okay.
So there's no further research or
Okay.
investigative work that's going to
Okay.
be done. Thank you.
Follow-up?
Follow-up, Director Gabius?
Thank you, Chair. So if I understand correctly, the system at the arena is similar and uses the same, like, Chapman water, correct? So could it be that the failure was due to the install or the maintenance of the system?
That is calling on speculation, but
Yeah.
GM Gagnon, could
Thank
you
you,
comment
Chair.
on that?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I can't comment
Okay.
on it because I don't know, and that's part of the problem. You are correct. We did some investigative work at the Sunshine Coast Arena, and we don't have a similar situation there. There are other facilities that are on the system that don't have it. So we don't have any idea why
Okay.
or how. It just happened. Thank you.
Director Gabius, do you have further questions? Oh, okay. Then, any further questions from any directors? No? Can I, oh, sorry. Director McMahon, you have a question?
Sorry, wrong hand again. The projected costs, are these estimates before we go to tender? And because I noticed that the estimate on the wet sprinkler system is actually lower than the actual bid we received when we put it to tender the last time. So just wondering how we have determined these estimates and how secure we feel that they're pretty close to the mark.
GM Gagnon, could you answer that for us, please?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the loaded question. So what I can tell you is that we recently secured an engineer to do the drawings and provide us with a Class C estimate. We've added a contingency to that Class C estimate. We have not gone to tender, but one of the reasons that it's in front of you to go directly from committee to board is that it is time sensitive. We are on borrowed time with our linear heat detection system. It's a temporary system. We have to go to procurement, which is a lengthy process, takes time, and we want to be in a position to be able to install the phase 1 in our annual maintenance period in May so that we avoid another shutdown of the arena swimming pool, of the Seashell Aquatic Center outside of our normally scheduled annual shutdown. So that is, it's time sensitive. We hope to go to tender right away in the new year. And then, of course, given the dollar value, we will be back in front of the board with an award report. At that point in time, we'll have certainty, but we have taken measures to build in contingency to this cost C estimate provided by the engineer. Thank you.
Thank you, GM Gagnon. Any further questions? Oh. Yes, Director Gabius.
Thank you, Chair. I think it might have been mentioned this morning, but it went really fast, so I just want to make sure. The maintenance of the systems, like option 1 and 2, would the cost of that maintenance be pretty similar?
GM Gagnon?
Thank you for the question. I believe that was a specific question that came up to Manager Van Velzen this morning, and he did confirm that he felt it would be fairly similar. Thank you.
Any further questions? I see your hand up still, Director. No? Okay. So could I have a motion then to accept recommendation number 4 of the Committee of the Whole? November 24th, 2022, Director Toth, seconded Director White. All in favor? Any opposed? There is Director Bax is opposed. Would you like that recorded? Yes. Okay, thank you. That's passed. So we're on to item number 7, which is the 2023 chair appointments for Annex F, pages 18, 19. Now, is there any introduction to that one? No, just straightforward? Okay. Motion to, yes, sorry.
Thank you,
Yes,
Chair.
Director Toth, you may.
I just wanted to point out, historically, I say historically, very gently here, the Board Policy Review Committee wasn't actually all directors. It was volunteers who were particularly interested in policy. I don't know if that change was intentional, or if it's, appointing everybody to it and they can show up or not as they see fit. I just wanted to flag that for other directors.
Yes, that's fair enough. I don't really, I think directors can show up if they want or not. I know at the last big one, we did have all directors, but if it's the will of the board to just name directors to it, I'm good at that. Is that what the board would like to see? Then I guess we could make a motion that we change that to ask for volunteer directors. I guess the chair can just plain do that, can he? Yeah, okay. How many would the chair like, or how many would the board like to see? Like 3? 2, 3? I think we had 3 last time. Yeah. Okay. So we have Director Toth, Director McMahon, Director Stamford. Any others? Director Bex? I believe the chair would the vice chairs interested already there, so I don't think there's any need for the chair to attend, so let's amend it that way, that there would be the members of the Board Policy Review Committee will be Directors Toth, McMahon, Stamford, and Bax. So done. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, with the provision that all directors will be informed of these meetings, please.
Yes, it'll remain on our calendars, I'm sure. And directors can attend, I think, believe if they're interested, but.
I don't know if Alton is supposed to have their hand up.
Yeah, he did. Oh. So Director White, your hand is up. Did you?
Yeah, so similarly, I've expressed this before, that I would not like to be on the EA committee. I think being on a committee implies, more than implies, that you actually have a vote. And I don't believe municipal directors, actually, I don't think they have votes on committees. I think there may even be a bylaw about that, on an EA issues, when it's focused on EA issues. So I really think that I thought the intent of this committee was to really focus on EA issues and have EA directors there, and I understand that was what happened at the first meeting, and it went really well, and focused on EAs and completed on time with no municipal directors there, and that's great. And I think it should continue that way, and I'd rather not be on the committee, because it also implies that I'm expected to be there, and I don't plan on being there. I've got a lot of planning and when we're talking about rural planning or parks or whatever is being discussed at the EAs, all of the municipal directors are doing that back in our municipalities and are quite busy doing that. So I'm objecting to being appointed to this committee, and I'm suggesting that we amend it so that it's only EA directors who are actually, which is supposed to be the focus of this committee.
Yes, historically, the municipal directors actually wished to attend, expressed an interest in attending, which is what started it coming out. I don't know why we couldn't just say rural areas, mandatory, municipal directors optional. Would that cover it, or?
Well, the members, yeah, sorry, the members, I think, would be EA directors. They have a vote. It makes it really clear.
Yep.
And then it's free. I mean, sure, I also assume I could probably attend the policy committee if I wanted to, even though I'm not on it and don't have a vote. But
Yes,
same
I believe
should go with
that's
this.
true, so
Yeah.
we could change that. Let's change that to rural directors, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there further?
Oh.
Oh, I got further hands up. Sorry. Got a speakers list here. Director McMahon.
Yeah, the only, the advantage to having only EA directors on the committee is that the quorum would not be 5.
That's good, too.
So you could have meetings with one of the rural directors absent, although frankly I would be reluctant to do that. But it does mean that there's no flexibility to bring any matters to that committee that are, where there are services where any of the munis are involved. So I just point that out. I don't know how staff feels about that.
Staff, any comments on that aspect of it?
Yeah, there's, I think that was a big reason why we moved to the committee of the whole structure. So we've got committees of the whole that provide additional flexibility to bring matters forward that require voting amongst all the members. Realistically, if we think about the electoral areas committee meeting that just came, the one we just had, that's the first time we've had one where the municipal members weren't present. Everything went fine. We do have 2 COW meetings from a staff perspective. We think there's ample opportunity to still float projects forward in a timely manner that require voting all using one of the 2 COW meetings.
Thank you. Director Toth.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it was actually the first Electoral Area Services Committee I've missed since we changed the committee structure, because I was chairing them in the last term. But I guess my only question is, it's fine for us to not be appointed to that committee because we don't have a vote, whatever. But historically, the conversation has been that the municipalities sometimes do have insight or, perspectives to share. And if we're not appointed on that committee, if we're attending, are we even allowed to sit on this side of the table? Which means, are we allowed to even participate in the discussion if we're not appointed to the committee?
Staff, is there comments on that?
He may be correct. I'd have to check into it. Yeah. Most likely they would be here as an observer, just like any other member of the gallery.
Director McMahon, whoops, sorry, Director Toth is in front. Okay, Director McMahon?
Yeah, well, while I'm not usually in favor of conscription, there are times that we are discussing things where we would like to have consistency across all of the jurisdictions on the coast, because it just makes life easier for all those people who don't know that they don't live in the town of Gibsons, for instance. And we don't necessarily have the expertise here because our staff are experts on the regional district. They don't necessarily know what discussions are going on at the municipality. So I prefer to leave the door open to having the directors on the committee, even though it means that we have to have 5 here for quorum. But as I said, having 5 here for quorum is a pretty good idea anyway. We really should have the participation of all the rural areas. So I guess I'm falling in the direction now of conscription.
Director Bax.
I am leaning towards making it optional for the municipal directors to show up. I think anything that we are dealing with in the Electoral Area Services Committee that really pertains to the municipalities is going to be pushed to the Committee of the Whole. But if we make their attendance optional, then they can join us if they see something on the agenda. Will they be getting the agendas for these meetings ahead of time as everybody else does? And so they can make their own decision whether or not they want to come.
To answer the agenda question, I believe that the open agendas are on the website for everybody. They would not, they'd probably not get a closed agenda item. But I'd have to ask staff for clarity on that issue. The question was, Director Bax, you want to give that one a try again?
The question is whether or not the municipal participants in the Electoral Area Services Committee being optional, would they be privy to any in-camera agendas? I guess we'd have to vote on it one at a time, right?
I do not know the answer to that question offhand. What I would say is, if the municipal directors are going to be included as members of the Electoral Areas Services Committee, their presence is almost optional anyway. They can choose to attend or not. If they attend, they will have the ability to participate in the discussion. They still won't have the ability to vote. So it's really a question, I think, of would you like to say the Electoral Area Services Committee includes municipal directors, knowing probably there's not a lot of municipal directors who would even like to attend, or would you like it to just be electoral area directors?
Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Director Paul?
Thank you, Chair. I would suggest that it's be the electoral area directors as part of the committee, and then anything is brought up to the committee of the whole. That gives them free rein to discuss stuff that only deals with them, and if they have any other questions, then they can bring it up further to the committee of the whole, and let's just leave it at that, I think. Be the easiest thing to do.
Yes, I believe that would be, definitely could be the process. Director Paul, did you have further comments or no? Okay, Director White?
I agree with Director Paul that, yeah, I mean, expect to, yeah, if something comes to the EA committee that EAs really feel should have more input from municipal directors, that could happen at board when it goes to board, and just make sure we pull that and allow municipal directors to have input, or we could do that ourselves as municipal directors. Furthermore, I believe that anything that goes to board, whether it's in-camera meeting or public, we'd all have access to it, I believe. I mean, even if it's an EA issue that I don't have a vote on, I think I can, that only makes sense to me that I would see it as a director of the board. And thirdly, I would suggest too that I understand the corporate officer's not here, but the question about whether municipal directors who attend this meeting optionally can sit at the table, I'm sure that's not in the community charter where you sit. So I think it'd be completely to the discretion of the chair. So the chair of that committee could say, sure, the municipal directors can sit over on this side of the table and you don't have votes, but I can recognize you and you can speak. I mean, that's what we're having a committee of the whole next week in Gibson's, and part of that committee, I'm going to be completely allowing members of the public to participate in the discussion. And we'll just recognize them, and they're going to participate in the discussion along with the rest of us. So it's to the discretion of the chair, I believe. I think that would work well. And then the quorum issue is resolved too.
Okay, so CAO McKinley, is this at the director's option to say who attends the meetings, or do we need a motion?
I think it's probably, if you're ready to make a decision on who the members of the Electoral Area Services Committee are, the safest, easiest thing to do, to channel my inner corporate officer, whether you need to or not, is make a motion.
I'm ready. Okay. I'm still ahead of you because I didn't lower my hand. That's a trick. Okay.
I see some more discussions here. Director Bax first.
I move to adopt the recommendations on page 18 and affirm the chair and vice chair appointments with the exception of the members of the Board Policy Review Committee, reading as we amended it earlier. Does that make sense?
No, not quite.
Made sense to you.
Do we have that motion down there then?
Yeah, okay.
Could you read it back to us, please?
So just to clarify, I have it amended so that the Board Policy Review Committee would have the chair as Chair Stamford, the vice chair as Vice Chair McMahon, and the members also as Directors Back and Director Toth. And for the Electoral Area Services Committee, we have the Chair McMahon, Vice Chair Gabius, and the members would remain all directors?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Director White.
I move to amend the motion, and yeah, I mean, I thought I made a pretty good rationale how this could work, but yeah, maybe I need to make an amendment that only the town of Gibson's is not included, and I hope maybe people would go with that because I'm not comfortable being appointed to a committee that I can't attend, and I don't have a vote at, so. I'm being appointed to a committee, so I'll and I don't know if I mean I heard Director Paul kind of suggest the same sentiment, so I understand the District of Sechelt seems to want to be there, but I'll see. Okay. Could we, okay, I'm going to make an amendment that EA directors and Director Toth be appointed to this committee. I'm not seeing a
If I
second.
understand it, the motion is that we accept the appointments with the exception of the Electoral Area Services Committee members, and the members will be all rural directors and no, not yet, and a representative from Sechelt Council.
In the interest of moving things along, I second the motion.
Okay. All in favor of the amendment? Okay. Opposed to the amendment? What was that vote again? It's,
4 were opposed.
4 were opposed. And how many were in favor? Could the in favor put their hands back up for me so I can count them? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Amendment's defeated. Okay, so we're back to the original motion. Can I have someone make that motion?
The motion is on the floor.
It's on the floor? And the motion on the floor was just that the list of chair appointments be affirmed as presented. Is there a seconder to that? No?
With the policy committee amendment.
Oh, yeah, we had the policy committee amendment. Okay. I think we understand the motion. And the motion's been seconded? Okay, let's have a vote on that one. Oh, sorry. Director McMahon, you have your hand up?
I'm just going to say this isn't carved in stone. We'll try it out. We'll see if it works. If it doesn't work, people aren't happy, we can revisit it.
All true. We've been known to change our mind. Okay, I'd like a vote on the amended motion. Oh, sorry, it's the original motion. We failed the amendment, so. Yes, the original motion. Okay, all in favor of the original motion? Any opposed? One opposed. Director White, would you like your vote recorded? Okay. Director White would like his negative vote recorded, please.
Yeah, hold on, we did on this.
Director Paul, did you vote in favor of that, or, sorry, I missed it?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. We can add excitement to just about anything. Let me see where we are here. Okay, we're now on item number 8, which is placement of notice on title. Chief Building Official, it's Annex G, it's pages 20 to 23. Oh, we have a mover. Do we have a seconder? Okay, is there any comments, any questions? Director Toth?
Sorry, Chair, I just wanted to point out that you do have to give people the opportunity to comment if they are in the meeting.
Oh, yes, thank you. Let me see what we have here. No. I don't see the proponent in the meeting. Is that correct? If they are, they could put up their hand? No? Okay. Done. So where are we with this here? Okay, so we have the motion made as it's on page 20. We have it seconded.
Oops.
I didn't quite spill the water. Director McMahon?
Right, so I was looking at the interesting carport. So usually people apply for retroactive permission, as it were, for building permit with the associated fees and penalties associated. What happens if they don't apply for that building permit? Would we ever go and tear down the garage?
Is there someone from staff? Yes.
Yeah, it is common that there is retroactive building permits, but in the case that someone doesn't proceed, further enforcement can be taken. this notice, placement of notice on title is authorized by the community charter to provide notice in the case of future owners. But additional enforcement action can be taken.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none. Oh, Director Bax?
Yeah, question. So at this point, so before notice on title, is there a fine imposed upon these people? I know there's a stop work order involved in this.
Yeah, stop work.
Sorry, staff, please.
Stop work order was placed, and there is an active enforcement file underway with this property.
Thank you. No further questions? Okay. Let's take a vote. Who's in favor of the motion? Any opposed? No, that passes. Thank you. Moving right along here. So, we're down to item number 9, which is the Office of the CAO monthly report. So, CAO?
Thank you, Chair. Most of this month, unsurprisingly probably, has been focused on preparing for the election, preparing for the subsequent orientations, and a tremendous shout out to Sherry and Jennifer and the whole crew that helped out with the election, and to everyone that participated in organizing and participating in the orientation. The other huge time commitment that we've been working on as a senior leadership team is getting prepared for the upcoming pre-budget presentations and the pre-budget discussions that are coming at us very quickly. It's been a lot of work, and I'm looking forward to going through all of that with you in just over a week's time, all while having some amazing work done by some key staff members in handling water emergency. So a lot of thanks to hand out. It would take even too long to thank everyone that deserves it, but it's been a doozy of a busy month. I'm looking forward to getting down to work with all of you.
Thank you very much. So we have no communications, and we have motions. Anybody would like to make that motion number 10? Director McMahon? Like to make a motion to accept as presented, right? Okay. Anybody second? Director Toth? Thank you. Any discussions on it? No. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? No. It's carried. Thank you. Now we're down to bylaws. I got to do a bunch of talking here. Find my water again. This is for first, second, and third, and adoption of Sunshine Coast Regional District Directors Remuneration Amendment Bylaw number 732.1, 2022. And this is the first reading of the Sunshine Coast, oh, by the way, that's Annex H, page 24. So this is the first reading of the Sunshine Coast Regional District Directors Remuneration Amendment Bylaw number 732.1, 2022. Motion to accept first reading. Director McMahon, seconder. Director Toth, all those in favor? Carried. This is now the second reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Directors Remuneration Amendment Bylaw number 732.1, 2022. Motion to accept second. Director Toth, seconded Director McMahon. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. This is the third reading of the Sunshine Coast Regional District Directors Remuneration Amendment Bylaw number 732.1, 2022. Do I have a motion to accept third reading? Director Gabius, seconded by Director Bax. All those in favor? Thank you, carried. This is for adoption of Sunshine Coast Regional District Director's Remuneration Amendment Bylaw number 732.1 of 2022. Do I have a motion to adopt it? Director Bax, do I have a seconder? Director Toth, all those in favor? Cool, everybody was. Any opposed? No? Thank you. That is done. We are now to directors' reports. And I think I will just start from my left and work around, seeing we're all new. Director Henderson, do you have anything to report?
Just echo the thanks and look forward to working with everyone.
Thank you. We're looking forward to working with you.
So far.
Yeah. Director Stamford.
I've got pages. I'd just like to start off very briefly mentioning that I attended the October 28th Revitalization Local Government Environmental Protection Tools for the Lower Sunshine Coast. It was a workshop, very valuable, lots of information if you need to look at it. I've got the background. I also attended the Future of Howe Sound Forum that supports the ongoing development of the Howe Sound Biosphere Regional Initiative Unity Plan, and that's based around the 16 Sustainable Development Goals for the United Nations. The big sort of theme for the Area F was the November 4th, 5th storm. I'm not sure if everyone had the same level of storm damage as the Howe Sound area did. We had major damage, and you can see by the early report for Hopkins Landing and the Langdale septic field. Many areas of West Howe Sound were out of power up to 5 days. There's significant damage everywhere. One of the big issues that I would like to try and find a solution to was so many hydro lines were down, and hydro requested on their messages to call 911, but most of the people that called 911 were outside of the service area, so then they were turned around again to call hydro. So they got caught in a loop that could be several hours, several days long of being trapped behind hydro lines. So I had this conversation at the Fire Commission meeting that Director McMahon and I attended on Tuesday morning. And I would like to consider having emergency service coordination meeting with all the rural directors early in the new year to develop a clear process for discussing emergency plans with community and how expectations are communicated to our communities as we seem to be moving into an era of more extreme weather events. Another highlight was our fire commission meeting as we discussed issues around hillside industrial park activities. There's a Queen of Tuasin, I think, is sitting outside outside in the water in the park or in the between Gambier and Hillside. We're not sure why it's there, but it just was an example of not really knowing what could go on in that area, that there's possibilities around pollution, around fire hazards, and how well it's monitored. So it was unclear on what the monitoring process was for Hillside. So I'll be working more on that to get more information. Another thing that we looked at the Fire Commission was we have now fire prevention covenants on private developments, but there doesn't seem to be any mechanism for monitoring those covenants. We have no idea if they're going to be followed through or if they're going to be maintained. So it was a good discussion and a lot of action items that I'll be hopefully following through with. So that's my report.
Thank you. Great standard to set. Director McMahon.
Right. I attended the Home Sweet Home Housing Fair, the track AGM at the Gumboot, which was very interesting, the Business Water Users Zoom, and the Elphinstone Community Association last week had a presentation from Green Shores. I have shared the video link with other directors if anyone else wants it, they're welcome to. The Fire Commission meeting was certainly interesting. We got into the discussion of where the fire service area ends. There is, of course, some pressure. Some of the residents who are outside the service area would like the boundary expanded, but there were a whole lot more considerations to that than I had ever thought about. And the cost drivers, the fire chief was talking about what Seashelt is going through right now with the pressures on their volunteer fire department and having to look at possibly a different service delivery model to meet the kind of call volumes that they're getting now. And Gibson's is watching this fairly closely, because although the Gibson's call volumes are not as high as Seashelt, they doubled over COVID, right? And that's putting increasing stress on our volunteer firefighters. And then there are apparently several development proposals in the works right now for buildings that are 7 stories, which is not something that the fire department has had to deal with before. And then we've got, you know, all of our other challenges around aging infrastructure and so forth. But it's very possible that we're going to have to look at expansion of the kind of service that we can offer, or getting more volunteers. Or I keep seeing dollar signs, you know, on our horizon. And is the current fire station sufficient? It is for right now, but 10 years from now is another question. So yeah, that was really interesting. I did not attend the BC Ferries drop-in yesterday. I don't know if anybody else got there. I can pretty much imagine what people had to say without attending. So I think that's my report for right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director McMahon. Now we have Director Gabius.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, it's been a crazy 2 weeks, so thank you. Thank you to staff, thank you to CEO, and thank you for the other directors for making us feel welcome. I feel welcome anyway, speaking for myself. Remembrance Day event in Seashelt. I was there to lay a wreath on behalf of the SCRD, and Mayor Henderson was there too, and Councillor Rowe. It was nice to see you there. Great times, good times at the Legion afterwards too. Lots of lovely people. I guess that's one of the perks of the job, is you get to meet a whole lot of interesting folks everywhere. It's really wonderful. Attended the Home Sweet Home Fair in Roberts Creek. That was such a great turnout. It was very nice to see. Well done to cover the coast for that. Got a wonderful tour of the elementary school in Half Moon Bay. That was awesome. Chatted with Wendy White, who's the community schools coordinator. They have really great programming there, and the kids are well taken care of. It's really wonderful. Our Half Moon Bay Community Association has just launched their annual fundraiser, Neighbors Helping Neighbors. It's really amazing. The money goes to the school, and donations are distributed to different programs like free breakfast for kids and hampers for seniors. It's really awesome. Community Association does great work in Half Moon Bay. Attended a couple Climate Caucus webinars. The one yesterday, I would recommend it. It was really interesting. Is the Banff Circular Economy Strategy. So really great ideas there, including their Trailblazers program, which recognizes businesses and companies that are zero waste leaders in the community. And apparently that was very, very popular. And I've been kind of hunkered down, watching a lot of SCRD TV, some past board meetings. It's actually quite fascinating. I'm really enjoying it, no joke. And launched a newsletter for my constituency, and that's about it. Thank you.
And we're happy to have you here as well. Thank you. Director Bax.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been a real wild ride, rock and roll ride. I've had a very busy month, going around the community, doing a lot of different things. So some short list is, I did go to the Home Sweet Home event. It was really eye-opening. I went to there was a talk between Elphinstone Logging Focus and the the community forest people. That was quite interesting, and they seem to, now they're starting to talk to each other. So that's very heartening to see. I went to the Transit Choices AGM, and afterwards I walked the bike path along the highway between Flume and Roberts Creek Road to see the condition of it, and took some pictures of that. I also laid a wreath at the Roberts Creek Legion, where I met one of the Freemasons that I'm going to be dealing with in the future. There's a proposal land swap deal to try to create a proper boundary lines between the Roberts Creek Community Hall, which is owned by the Roberts Creek Community Association, and the Freemasons Hall. And I walked the land that's under proposal. We've got a parcel of SCRD Park that's just wildland in behind those two halls that I'm hoping to bring into play. On that, I had dinner with the Roberts Creek Volunteer Fire Department, their annual dinner. There was probably about 40 members, past and present, that were there. That was really good. I made a pot of soup at the Seaside Center a couple weekends ago as part of the One Straw Society's soup stories, and that was a big hit. This week I chaired the official community planning committee's election, and that was really interesting. And as I always do every Saturday, I've been opening my constituency office at the cafe, and so I'm at the Gumboot Cafe every Saturday, either morning or afternoon. This week I'm there in the afternoon. Thanks.
Thank you. Director Toth.
Thank you, Chair. Two things real quick. Seashelt's going to be starting a community safety task force to look at recommendations on how to improve safety in the downtown core. As of last week's council meeting, it's now actually official. Mayor Henderson will be chairing it, and Deputy Mayor Brenda Rowe will be vice chairing it. And they're going to be looking for community participation and involvement on that. Also, we've given 3 readings to property maintenance bylaw amendments to ensure that properties are now secured to prevent squatting and other unauthorized use. We all know why it's had to come forward, but it's actually, even though we haven't given it adoption yet, it's already getting some movement from the property owners, because they do want to do their part once they've been told they'll have to. So that's really all I've got. Thanks.
Thank you. Director White.
The town of Gibson's has had one council meeting so far, other than our inaugural meeting, of course. One item the main item we really addressed at that meeting was changing our procedures bylaw, and much of that work was based on or aligned with what the workshop with Tracy Lawrenson, which we all attended, and the legal workshop with Lidstone and Co. as well. And I wanted to highlight that, especially because it was such a great example of the local governments on the Sunshine Coast working really well together, and really strong progress that I've seen in that regard as well. The last time I was at this table, I think we had 3 different legal workshops and 3 different governance workshops, and it was just really great to see, and it was really valuable having everyone there together too, I thought. So that was great work by staff to make that happen.
Yes, thank you very much. It's hard to admit I enjoy workshop, but I did. It was great. Director Paul, if you're still there, do you have a report you could give us?
Well, I just wanted to thank staff for all their hard work on multiple different levels of projects and stuff, and prep to head into the much anticipated budget season. We're headed into that pretty quick here too. for me personally, it's been just a lot of learning and stuff, and we've just been dealing with a lot of stuff here at a government level thing. So it's just been very interesting. We had like our own little Remembrance Day thing here up at the nation offices and stuff, which went very well and is very organized. We have a few more wellness programs for nation members and especially the kids and stuff, trying to get them. I don't know the words to say for it. It's like not recovered from like the traumas and stuff of COVID and everything, like the being separated from everybody and schooling and stuff and some of the stresses for that. So that's been going pretty good. And I think you guys all know that there's a wastewater treatment plant being constructed down in Port Stallation area. So we're still working on that kind of stuff. And yeah, just trying to deal with like homelessness and drug addiction and crime and stuff, whatever. So it's a big problem around the rest of the Sunshine Coast. So just normal everyday stuff, I guess. But I just wanted to thank everybody here for their work and look forward to continuing on.
Yes, thank you. Normal everyday work. You sure got a lot on your plate. I noticed there's windows in your new building next to the museum now, too. Yeah, that was cool. My report will be very, very short here. I did attend the Remembrance Day at the Pender Legion. There was lots of people there. But what I noticed was our pipers, an outstanding group of pipers. Our choir was great. And really what stuck in my mind was an outstanding singing of O Canada by Ginny McKnight. She sure is a great singer. If you ever get a chance to listen, that's what you'll really appreciate it. And I'd like to thank my fellow directors and staff for putting up with me while I learn this job and helping me when I need help, which I really look forward to. So thank you very much. And I guess we will move on here. We have no new business, no in camera. I'd like to remind anyone listening here in the boardroom or on Zoom that we'll have questions right after we adjourn. So don't leave if you have questions. And I'd like a motion to adjourn, please. Director Toth, seconded by Director McMahon. All in favor? Everybody is? Okay, so we're adjourned. Thank you. Now, if there's any questions in the boardroom, nobody's putting up their hand here. Any questions in the gallery? We'll take a virtual hand from the attendees. No? Okay, so we're done. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.